they're going to want to run more. I like Kettle Marte. It's weird because if you start to look at it, the 16th rated middle infielder has an ADP of 44. That just feels weird, right? But that speaks to how much value, and it's predominantly shortstops that's in this tier, okay? Excuse me, in this grouping, in this bucket, if you will. Let's talk about Tim Anderson. ADP is 110. He's in this grouping. Higuera's 53, Marte's 44, Muncy's 74. Why is Tim Anderson 110? Can you guys answer that question for me? Tim Anderson hit .335 last year. 18 homers and 17 stolen bases. He's only 27 years old. I don't think he hits .330 again, guys. But I think 290 is a reasonable. You're talking about a 45-point fall. I think that's reasonable. You're talking about a guy who has potential to hit .30. Tim Anderson at a 9th round pick, I think is gold. What do you think? You guys agree? Who was it? Malpal, you asked me earlier? Anderson has to be up there in sleepers, right? This is great. I love having this chat room. Honestly, Max Muncy's in this group. 35 homers, 101 runs, 98 RBIs, just 29 years old. I really do like him in this group. I don't have a whole lot of notes. I'm not going to waste your time. Let's talk about this next tier. Because there's a couple guys in this next tier who I really feel like are underappreciated. And this is where we talk about, this is the fun part, right? I'm going to give you guys about 20 more minutes. It's 8:20. It feels like 5 minutes. Honestly, this is what's great about this is I'm wrong on a lot of shit, okay? Now that pansy-ass Roberta's is out of here, I can cuss. I'm wrong on a lot of shit. No offense, Roberta. I want to hold your hand. I joke. I'm happily married. And you're probably a dude. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we identify value. You're talking about guys here from 46 to 148. But who's the right guy? That's the important part, okay? So this is a bigger group, admittedly. It's like about 8 guys. But no, you're right, George. No comment. You're absolutely right. Minute to minute, brother. Minute to minute. This minute's brought to you by Basils, Hayden. And that's why I'm laughing and smiling. Let's talk about these 8 players in all seriousness as I start to pour my third pour. Whit Merrifield, 46.3. Mike Moustakas, 109. Jeff McNeil, 98. Jorge Polanco, 138. LeMahieu, 66. Seager, 148. Correa, 90. Ahmed Rosario, 147. And Marcus Semien, 83. That is a pretty crazy group, right? So we're talking about bucket ranking 19 to 27. So these are the guys you're looking at as your middle infielders. It's important, right? You don't want to fuck this up. Merrifield, Moustakas, McNeil, Polanco, LeMahieu, Seager, Correa, Rosario, and Semien. Am I right in ranking those guys like that? I'm all over the board on ADP. Right? Let's talk about Mike Moustakas. I have him as our 20th rated middle infielder. Granted, he's going to play pretty much full-time at second base this year. Last year, he hit 254, 35 homers in Milwaukee. I can't think of 3 places that would be better to go to than Milwaukee to play baseball. Cincinnati just happens to be one of them. And Cincinnati, with the aggressive nature of their offseason, sure as shit doesn't hurt. 254, 35 homers. You're talking about Votto, Suarez. Yes, Votto is declined. He's still an OBP machine. Suarez, Castellanos, and Moustakas. What a core. At 109, that's a steal, guys. That's a steal. Kevin, I am so glad you're here. I'm going to take a second and drink my Basils Hayden and say aloha and mahalo. Jeff McNeil. You were talking about him the other day, and we had quite a contrast of opinion, right? Kevin's not a McNeil fan. Let's do this because it's fun. Jeff McNeil versus Jeff Kent. So I took Jeff Kent's stats from 92 to 96. He hit an average of 21 homers. He hit 274. And he averaged per 162, 80 runs and 86 RBIs. That's over his first 4 years. So, to you, sir, Kevin Hastings, I would like to say, over 2 years now, Jeff McNeil is averaging 321. He's averaging 21 homers a year. 162 game average. That's a little different, right? Well, George, that's fine. You're talking about a Hall of Famer. You're talking about a Hall of Famer, and you're talking about really similar profiles. My point is, McNeil is a well above 300 average hitter. I think 20 homers is a floor on Jeff McNeil. And I think he starts to become more and more. No, you're right. Jeff Kent should be a Hall of Famer. Don't misunderstand my argument. My argument isn't disrespecting Jeff Kent. My argument is publicizing Jeff McNeil. That's the difference. People understand intent differently. Jeff McNeil's a 300 hitter, waking up out of bed, drunk, on no sleep, however you want to put it. 20 homers, and I understand numbers are different. But we're talking about Jeff Kent playing in the height of the steroid era. Let's be totally honest. Okay? I know this is an unpopular opinion. I can handle that. My whole point to this argument, Jeff McNeil, even at 98, which means you have to get him in an 8th round, 9th round pick, is a value. Because what he does, he doesn't hurt you with homers. I'm saying at this point in his career, Jeff Kent and Jeff McNeil aren't close. I'm saying Jeff McNeil is so much more advanced than Jeff Kent was in the first part of his career. Now, McNeil has to develop the way Jeff Kent did. But I think the type of hitters that they are, it's a fun comparison. Whatever, George. No, I won't. Thank you very much. This is where we're getting down to the fun, though, right? We're talking about... So you're telling me, at 326 and 23 homers, you wouldn't take Jeff McNeil as your middle infielder. That's my entire point, George. That's my entire point. Let's talk about Corey Seager. Guys, people forget 3 years ago, this was a first round pick. His current ADP is 148.3. You're talking about a 12th round pick in a traditional 12 team draft. That's significant value. He had Tommy John surgery. He's 1 full year recovered from that now. 272, 19 homers, and a stolen base last year is all fine and dandy. But let's go back and look at, if I can type, what he did pre-injury. Because there's a reason he was a first-round pick in 2017. .295, 22 homers from your shortstop. George, you can say what you will. Again, I do this differently, and I know you're joking, and I appreciate it. I look at things a little differently. People often make the mistake. And here we are, we're at an hour and a half. So, just know. People tend to make the mistake of looking at things at the beginning of the year. Again, I say this with confidence. Jeff McNeil hits the ball coming out of bed. Jeff McNeil hits the ball drunk, sober, sleeping, awake. He hits 300 every stinking year. His power is going to increase. I look at things, I crunch numbers all day. That's what I do for a living. I'm just looking at trends. This guy has shown me that he's going to hit for average, and the power is going to be mid-20s. Yeah, he is a nice little player. I don't want to get hung up on it, though. I love you, George. Seriously, I appreciate you. So we talked about Corey Seager. I think he's an intrigue in the 12th round. I think he's a value in the 12th round. I would be happy to have him sitting in my middle infielder spot. This next tier, this is my last tier, and then I'm going to talk about some retreads and some prospects. But this is really, this is where it gets fun. These guys, they all have a certain amount of intrigue. So let's talk about them. We're going to go from 28 to 36. Okay? So 36 puts us right at it in a 12-team league. It puts you at a short, it puts you at a second, and it puts you at a middle. Right? 36 players. There's some interesting names, and I'm going to talk about some of the other names a little bit lower.